What's up, meta nerds? This video is going to cover every infantry droid used in the Separatist Droid Army. First up, we have Aqua Droids. At 2.83 meters, or just over 9 feet tall, they're actually a foot and a half taller than Chewbacca, and like their name suggests, were intended for underwater operations. They had a retractable laser cannon built into their arm, and combined some aspects of the B-1 and the B-2, with having the deep voice of a B-2, but responding to orders with the classic Roger Roger that you would expect from a B-1. And although they could be intimidating underwater, they were pretty easy to take out on land. Next up is the most iconic droid in the entire CIS, the B-1 Battle Droid. Let's talk about your regular B-1, and then we'll get into all the different variants. The B-1 was 1.93 meters, or just over 6 feet, making them a little bit taller than Han Solo. They often fought using the E5 blaster rifle, and the original versions had to be linked to a droid control ship, but the Battle of Naboo showed that by just taking out this ship, you would turn the droid army into a giant scrap heap. In the following years, Factoid Armor Workshop upgraded the B-1 and installed onboard independent intelligence centers, which would allow the B-1 to operate without a master signal. There was also a B-1 grapple droid, which was specially designed for hand-to-hand combat. Instead of carrying an E5, this thing was equipped with enormous grapple claws, which were resistant to blaster fire and even lightsabers. And they would kill clone troopers by simply picking them up with their claws, crushing them, or just ripping them apart. They were also strong enough to lift up to 10 times their own weight. Rocket battle droids, also known as pod hunter droids, retained their E5, but also had a fusion cutter attached to their forearm and a floodlight put on top of their head. Using this jetpack, a squad of rocket battle droids would be used to hunt down escape pods, upon which they would try and breach it using their fusion cutter, and gun down everybody inside. The firefighter battle droid had this distinctive paint job of bright yellow lines and a red accent on his head, and they were the kind of droid you didn't appreciate until you needed them, as they would spray fire repellent foam to make sure that they could quickly put out a fire before it spread to other parts of the ship, which might blow the entire ship apart. And the most intelligent B-1s were often considered to be the OOM. OOM droids are technically the predecessors to the B-1, but they had more complex programming, which allowed them to adapt to battlefield circumstances, and they would often command B-1s in battle. OOM commanders had this yellow paint job, and the blue OOM were actually the pilot battle droids. Up next was the B-2 Super Battle Droid, which got rid of the E5 blaster rifle, opting instead for dual wrist blasters. They had a much stronger frame, which was made of duranium, and instead of the processing unit and signal receptors being located up in the head, it was instead buried deep inside of the torso, providing much more protection from enemy fire. The B-2HA was a variant that got rid of one of the blasters in the arm, replacing it with a cannon that could fire a homing torpedo. The B-2RP, also known as the Rocket Droid or the Super Droid, came equipped with a built-in jetpack and were painted with these white stripes across the torso to help identify them from regular B-2s. They kept the wrist blaster in the arm, but with this simple addition of a jetpack, the CIS had a terrifying unit that could just fly up to a ship and execute Republic pilots. These units were replaced by the even more badass Super Battle Droid Rocket Troopers. It had 2 thrusters, which were much larger than the built-in jetpack of its predecessor, making it faster and giving it more control in flight, and an extra wrist-mounted blaster so that it had twice as much firepower. What looks like a supersized version of a B-2 was aptly named the B-3. The B-3 Ultra Battle Droid was 4 meters tall, making it around half the height of an AT-ST, and along with that enormous size came an amazing armament. It had a flamethrower, 2 retractable rapid-fire blaster cannons, a rocket launcher, and even a wide spray plasma cannon. It also had a density projector, which allowed the B-3 to increase its weight, making it impervious to pushes and throws, which would often be used by the force-wielding Jedi. There was also the CB-3 Cortosis Battle Droid, which had high-intensity double laser cannons installed into each of its arms, and was produced out of Cortosis, a very rare, lightsaber-resistant material. This droid was deemed such a threat to the Republic that Palpatine orchestrated events so that the Jedi could take out its sole manufacturing plant before it helped the CIS win the war and kinda ruined Darth Raisin's plan. The BX series droid commandos were built off of the B-1 model, but used stronger materials and were programmed with improved combat tactics and more powerful servos and motors, which allowed this droid unit to be incredibly agile and acrobatic. They were also trained to be proficient with the Vibro Sword, as well as the Droid Commando Personal Shield, and even the Stun Baton. The Droideka, also known as Destroyer Droids, were designed to look like the Colicoids that built them, and were a very unique unit in that they would roll into battle, and once they reached their position, they would activate their deflector shield and fire their pair of twin blaster cannons. So let's go ahead and pause here, and in part 2, we'll finish the complete list of all of the infantry in the Separatist Droid army. Hope to see all you guys in part 2.